Alright, so in this video, I'm going to show you guys how I built this lean-to attached to a Tuff Shed. Never did it before. It took me 3.5 days, roughly about $950 in materials. And we're going to go ahead and start the video now. So first thing I had to do was measure out exactly where I'm going to be putting the lean-to. I decided to do a 10-foot by 12-foot, and to get my markings, what I did was I measured out from the building 10 feet. And then I also ran diagonally from each corner. And by doing that, as long as you have the same number, which I think in my case was like 165 inches, you can kind of get square before running your string line. So dug down about 2 feet, put in about 4 inches of gravel down below. That way I had a nice base so that once the cement's on there, if water goes down in there, it'll drain below and not rot out these posts. Now I'm running the string. Don't judge me. I did use some kids' toy stakes to get this string line going. But essentially, this is what gave me the confirmed square to make sure the rest of the building went together okay. All right, so after all my makeshift stuff, next on the list is to get these set and plumb. People like to use the word level. Level is horizontal, plumb is vertical. So we're going to set these up. I got to cut a couple of pieces of this pine to be able to get this to stay in place, and we'll do that now. Now my goal here was just to get the posts set. Once I had these braces on and I confirmed that everything was plumb, I threw in about 2 bags of concrete. I didn't mix it outside. I just had some water down in the hole, cut the bag, and then dumped the bag inside. I did use a tamper to kind of mix the cement up just to make sure that it was all moved around. And there I'm just checking plumb to make sure everything is nice and tight. Secured the supports on there a little well and just kept double checking to make sure everything was nice and plumb. All right, for this next part, we're going to pour some concrete. I'm going to go probably 4 inches below the actual top of the soil when it comes to filling it. Luckily the hose reached just enough. We're going to move Puppy away. Now this part was quick. All I did was get the cement in there, get the water in there, and then just made sure things were plumb, let it dry overnight so I could begin on day number 2. All right, so this one's done. It's not amazingly great. It's not like I'm not trying to, it's not for a customer. It's for my house. It's gonna work. I have made sure it's all plumb with everything. We've got 2 1/4 bags in there, which roughly 130 pounds of concrete. Plus we'll have dirt on top. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of weight holding these 2 posts down. Still not sure about the center post. We'll find out later in the video if that's what I go with or not. For now, on to the next. I also did not do a center post on this. I was going to do a center post and decided against it after I saw how stiff this building was once I put the header on. So I just used 2 posts, kept it at the 10-foot from the building, and then I kept it 12 feet away from each other. All right, so what we're going to do in this next part is we've got the left one here, left post is slightly lower than the right post, and we want them to be the same height in regards to being level. So what I'm going to do, I don't have a 12-foot level. I'm going to run a string from the high point on this left one, and I'm going to hold the string on this side until I find with my bubble levels that it is level. Then I will mark it and I will chop the top off of this one here before we start setting our front brace board. I'm not sure what it's called, but it'll be what supports all the rafters running across. So we'll do that now. Now, if you don't have a string, what I could have done also was put up my 2x6 across, and assuming that's level, I could have put a level across there and kind of marked off my post. If you have a string in these line levels, they're really handy, really easy to use. All right, so what I did was I finished the string line, double checked both bubbles. I even threw my own level on top just to make sure everything was accurate. Looked at it to confirm. I'm only about 1/8 of an inch below the top of this left one where the screw is at. So I'm going to cut above the line a little heavy. Not going to go into the line that I made. That should give us our flush level top to where then I'll be able to cut in 4 inches, or should I say 3 inches, because I'm going to put double stack 2x6 across as a header into it for like maximum support, and that's what we're going to do now. All right, so now I've marked off the spot I'm dropping in the header. So I'm going to use a Sawzall to cut it. I was thinking about using the circular, but then I realized I'll cut it too far. The center will be messed up. So I'm just going to grab a large wood blade. This one's called, it's kind of messed up already. It's called the axe. Let's see how it goes. By the way, just to mention it, I'm going to put a link in the description or the comments somewhere that's going to have a list of all these tools. I'm using the old string, doing the same thing, cutting 3 inches in by 5 5/8 down. So the reason I'm doing it this way is because if I mounted the 2x6 directly to the header with the carriage bolts, all that weight is being supported on the carriage bolts. By cutting this out, that weight now transfers to the post, making it a stronger structure. All right, we're going to test fit this header here, see how she sits. Couple things to note. So initially I have these as a 2x6x12. I eventually cut off about 6 inches. Since I do have the ledger board going on the inside of the shed trim, that gives me 11 feet 6 inches. I wanted them to be both the same. So that's what you're going to see me cutting here in just a second, is the header off of the posts. All right, when I was doing some research on how to lag the ledger board to the Tuff Shed, you can do a couple ways. One is using lag bolts, or two, you can use structural screws. So I'm using these GRK fasteners. It's a 5/16 by 4 inch. Gives it enough to go through the 1.5 inches of the ledger board. I believe it's like only 3/8 for the T111 siding, and then go a couple inches into the studs back inside the Tuff Shed. So I'm going to use these, give them a try. When it comes to the rest of the rafters and everything else, I'm going to be using nails and some screws, but just want to show you what I use for these, because I spent probably a half hour trying to find out what's best, and this is what I came back with. And I ended up throwing in, I think, about 8 of these screws in here to make sure it was nice and rigid. I didn't show these yet, but these things are pretty gnarly looking. I just wanted to get them on camera for what a structural screw looks like. So these are what's holding that ledger to those 2x4 studs on the inside. So now for this next part, I'm going to do a 1/2 inch drill bit for the 1/2 inch carriage bolts that are going to hold up these this double 2x6 header through here. So this is just enough to really go through. So we're going to hang up these boards, check measurements, and start drilling. All I'm doing here is centering these boards on both posts. All right, we're going to jump to the next set. I got the first set of carriage bolts in. It ain't pretty, but it's definitely not ever leaving that unless I want it to. Now, one mistake I want to tell you guys. So, years ago, my grandfather always said, have a tidy workspace. And it's for a few reasons. One is you're not misplacing things. But two, you're not risking tripping over and hurting yourself on stuff. So I haven't lived by that standard on this job, so I'm going to take a few minutes, clear this space out, because next thing we're doing is putting up the rafters. So here we go. And prior to me saying that, I nearly tripped like 3 times, so I really wanted to put it in the video so other people don't make my mistake. All right, now I kind of know where everything's at. So a couple things. I wanted some of these concealed rafter hangers, joist hangers, whatever you want to call these, but I couldn't find them in a 2x4, so this was a 2x6. What I'm going to do is use some tin snips and just cut it off. That way I can mount this flush onto here without having the extra on it. So let me grab the tin snips. Okay, update. Tin snips didn't work. What we're going to do, I'm going to throw in a screw on each side, hold this in place, grab the Sawzall with metal blade, and we're going to cover through this. One side, metal blade. See what this does. Pretty good. Do another one. All right, so now that I got those ready to go, the center ones didn't have to be the concealed type. I only did that because it's on the outer edge. I'm essentially going through and I'm marking off these measured out from the center by 16 inches. And I'm just getting these things test fit up on here. I'm not nailing them in at this point. I'm just getting them marked because I'm going to have to cut down on the header side shortly. All right, now see this big gap here. I'm going to make an attempt to draw a line to cut this out, and I'll explain how I do it as soon as I research it in about 10 minutes. The truth is I had no idea how to do it, so I just used a pencil, marked it out, and started cutting. Putting on the hurricane ties. The outer one is different than the center ones. Hold this here. There we go. Now I wanted to make sure I had all the boards flush up against the hangers before securing them. And then I had to also go back and measure out the rest of them and cut out the little notch in so they'll sit, distributing the weight on both of the hangers. All right, so I've got all the rafters positioned in place. I've gone through and made sure they're all as flush with the ledger board as I can get. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to nail them off to the ledger first. After they're nailed off, I'm going to come back on this side, throw on the hurricane ties after I cut out a scrap piece of 2x4, 14.5 inches for all the ones that are 16 on center besides the very last one. I'll have to measure that out, and then I'll be done for the day. I didn't show in this video is when I was putting on the sheathing, I did run a screw from the top into the ledger as well. So I made a mistake. This first gap is not 14.5 inches. I measured accidentally from this outside when I put my first hanger on. So I only have 13.5 inch space here. Everything else is 14.5. I first put it all up, measured it out, and then I got to the end and my last one was like an inch off. So I had to go double check, and this is what it was. That was my mistake. I didn't measure from the center of the hanger to the center of the next hanger. So this first is a little wonky. These are the way the hurricane ties are going to work. So for now, I'm running low on nails. I'm going to just put a couple down low, a couple on the sides, get all the way through here, see what we have left. Might need to get some more, but at least I can be done with this part of the project for the day. All right, so we're done with day number 2. Here's the show progress. So I got everything up. Everything is spaced out evenly. Not exactly super happy with a couple of the boards going all the way down. Some have a gap. They're on there secured. They're in the hanger. So I'm hoping that just, I don't know, having the sheeting on top is going to be enough strength. Somebody in the comments, please tell me if I'm building a house of cards. And this is how we're looking. This end one here, I had to kind of wrap that tie around the side there. But for the most part, it's all well concealed and well spaced. So what I'm doing here is measuring out 18 inches to cut off my rafter tails, and I'm going to actually put a screw on each side, run a chalk line and snap that, so then I can just cut these out instead of running measuring tape out 18 inches all the way through. It makes it way more difficult. This is much easier. Also, be gentle on the chalk line. I broke this thing like 3 times, but here's how it goes. All right, 4th time's the charm. Now all I'm going to do is use my speed square, follow that line with the slope of the roof, not going to make it perpendicular to the ground, and then come in with my saw and cut it off. So I got them all marked. You'll see it just kind of follows down. I'm going to rip my saw going from down to up so I can kind of see the blade of the saw when I'm going through the line, and I'm going to cut right through it, not to the left, not to the right, just going straight through it. All right, so what I'm going to do, since it's just me, I'm going to hold this up. I'm going to put one screw at the top here. I'm just using a 3-inch, 2.5, 3-inch deck screw that I had laying around. to hold it in place. Drip edge is going to come over that, so that screw will not be showing. And I think I'm just going to find, I've got like boxes of miscellaneous screws. I think I can find about 10 of these. So that's my plan. And then this is only a 8-foot piece, so I'm going to have a 2-foot piece at the very end there where they overlap, and I'm going to use some blocking to attach them so it's not like one's bowing out and then the other. So actually, after doing this, I did not need blocking because this actual 2x4 ended up on one of the rafter tails, so I secured it no problem. You'll see that in this part of the video. And then also the wood clamp was really, it really came in handy when doing this solo, so highly recommend that. Just unloading the truck from everything I need. Now this time I'm going to put on some of the sheathing. Each piece of sheathing, I ran about 4 screws into the rafters all the way up. And I had a rip board to fit on this next portion here. All right, next thing we're going to do is now we're going to stagger it. So I'm going to put a full sheet of 4x8 up on this far left side so that it's not sharing the same, what's the right word to use? Line, crevice, crack, whatever, to give it some more rigidity. So that's what we're doing now. So in this portion, it's pretty much exactly what I said. I'm just making sure I stagger the actual boards and cutting everything. There's no overhang on the sheathing. They just butt right up against the rafter tails, the eave side of things. And then on the very top parts you can't see in the video, I am making sure that I have the plyboard going up on top of the ledger and under the actual roof line. And no, those were not added sound effects. That was actually a hawk that's overhead. So making sure to keep an eye on the pup and the chickens and all that stuff, because I don't want to lose any of those to a hawk. So last portion is I'm just ripping the actual last few boards. And once this is done, the next thing will be is the flashing, and then we have the sheathing as well. Now you will see that I go along the edge here and I just clean it up using the saw to get everything nice and flush with the building. All right, so after watching a lot of videos, I saw a lot of guys just use this 2x3, pretty common stuff. I went with white just to be the same color as the actual building. All right, so I decided to mute myself because I kind of ramble on here. All I'm describing is that I use this drip edge, and when I was putting it onto the eave side, which is the very front where the water runs off, or the rake side, which is the left or the right, I overlapped it by 1.5 inches. So when you do your measurement, in this case, the building is 11 feet 6 inches wide. I did 11 feet 7.5 inches when I cut my trim because of that overlap. And that's what I did on both the front and the left and the right, or the rake side. And also when it comes to mounting it, all I used was the same type of nails that you would use for doing the shingles, which I am going to show here in just a second. Beyond that, I'm just going to continue on rambling about nothing. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I'm just going to use the same nails that I'm going to use for the shingles. So they're 1.25" smooth shank, and that's what I'm going to use. So in this part, the only thing I did was I had a piece of the plyboard, which is 1/2 inch. I put that under the actual drip edge, touching the fascia, gave me the 1/2 inch gap that I needed to nail it in. On the rake side, so on the left and right side, I ended up just putting those flush. All right, so now we've got sheathing on. We've got our drip edge on. A couple of spots I'm going to nail in. In this section, just a quick cleanup before putting on the sheathing. So what I went with was a synthetic roll. You can go with the tar paper. It's like less than half the cost. They only sold, from what I saw, was this big ass roll. It's 1,000 square feet. We've got 120. But down the road, I have an add-on we plan to do on the home, which is still less than 1,000 square feet. So hopefully this will still be good to use then, because it was like $100. Now we'll see how this goes on. So what I learned by reading the instructions immediately right after that part, It states on there that the sheathing should go on top of the eave side down at the bottom, and then it does state that on the rake side, so left and right, that you should put it on top. I was too late, so wasn't going to be able to do that at that point. So now I'm just running everything on here. I use these little tiny plastic cap nails to nail it all in place. Part of me wishes I would have bought a gun because this took forever. Literally, it felt like I was up there for hours just to put these little nails on for the sheathing. I'd probably just go buy a Harbor Freight cheap gun if I could go through and do it all over again, though. All right, so what we're gonna do is use this starter shingle, and we'll put this down the rake side first on both sides, and then on the eave side we'll place it over, and I'm going to overlap the tar material here to where it's sticky all the way around so that the first row of shingles has something to stick to. So again, what I learned here was I should have done the actual eave side first and then put the rake side on after, for the same reason as the sheathing would go on after you have your drip edge on. But once this was on, the kids were a amazing help. Literally the whole job from this point on, all the way through shingling the rest, the kids were up there with me. I made sure they had their shoes on and all the other stuff that everyone in the comments is going to say how dangerous this is. Keep in mind, kids climb trees, maybe twice as high as this. Some people like that, some people don't. I felt okay as supervising my kids on this whole job. So with them helping out, they sped things up quite well. Getting things started took a little bit of time, but as it progressed, we got this little routine going that made things work out pretty quick. So you'll notice down right where I'm at, I'm cutting the shingles. So when you lay shingles on top, some things that I've learned is that you want to make sure you are making sure they don't overlap exactly the same, because you want to have where there's that crevice not be the same every time. So I made these little patterns down below that I ultimately kind of just winged it up on top there. I would cut the actual shingle and then just keep going throughout. So quick little sandwich break, and the kids are now at this point thinking how much more work do we have to do. So they are very great, hard workers. They don't complain. I mean, literally a 9 and 11-year-old up here doing this for about, I think this took about 3.5, 4 hours, just almost straight. Some of the complicated parts were going towards the edge. What I did on the shingle was I made sure I had about a 1/2 inch overhang from the ply board and from the drip edge. This is what I just, again, read online or saw in some video, so I decided to just follow that. One thing I don't show in this video, which I will show at the very end, my plan is the flashing. Because I had the ply board directly up against the building, there was no room for my flashing to go on the T111 siding, so I am going to be doing some nailing on top of the roof, which I'm not excited about.
I need to sit down, and I'm not fishing for a lot of time. I'm just sitting down.
And I'm pretty sure she is fishing. Even though she says she's not, I'm pretty sure she is. I mean, I can't blame the kids for being restless at this point. It's been a pretty long afternoon, and I was just very glad they helped out throughout this whole project. So now we're doing a little bit of a cleanup here towards the end. They're out picking up some of these tails and getting it all to be kind of finished up. Yeah, I have no idea. Kids are kids.
An old bag of rocks.
Threw a couple of bags of drainage rocks right around the post instead of soil, so maybe prevents from rotting out. Then I wanted to get an actual dump of gravel. So the gravel portion, that added about $196 to this project. The total cost in this thing is still under $1,000 if I don't include the gravel. And then luckily I've got a great neighbor, Patty. She let me borrow her Kubota to kind of get this all box scraped out, get it cleaned up, save my back from some more pain. What I did here is I made sure to put some of the weed protection. I had some left over, and then I also sprayed under it because I'm a pest control guy. I sprayed some of that as well as some pre-emergent. Now once the tractor did most of the work, came in, kind of cleaned it up, and got the rest of the gravel back into place. I have some wood coming in today, so I wanted to get this as ready as possible. All right, guys, now that we're done with our lean-to video, I want to go over 3 things I would do differently that I feel like I've learned along the way, but couldn't make the changes because I was already too far committed. So first thing, I'm glad that it's up. I'm glad that it's done. But one of the changes I would have done is painting the actual rafters on the ends here before putting everything together, because now if I got to paint it, I'm probably gonna get the drip edge. That might compromise it to some way. Maybe it's easier than I think, but I would have rather painted this, painted the front fascia as well. So that was done. So that's one thing I would have done differently. Second thing, my ledger board. You'll notice up here, I am right up under the eave of the building. That made it to where I could not actually get my flashing under and onto the actual T111 siding. So what I'm going to do is throw some nails up in here, and then I'm going to have to put on some tar essentially to keep water from coming through there. It's not ideal, but it's what I'm going to have to do. The third thing I would make sure that I did differently is on this post. So when I first measured it, I wanted it to be about 6 feet above ground, which it is on this side, because I was expecting to put my header on top. And then I was like, I got to cut into this to make it be as secure as I want. And by cutting into this, now it's so low that when I get my firewood, which is going through here, I'm 6'2". It's going to be one of those things that I just know over the years I'm going to hit my head on this kind of stuff. So I would do that, is make sure the posts, either get them a little bit longer or don't put them so far into the ground. I got 8 foot posts, and they're in about 18 inches, plus you saw I had to lop the top off of one of them. But besides that, the actual whole project came in at like 950 bucks. So not mad about it. And I mean, if I didn't do shingles and underlayment and all that stuff, I could have gotten away with probably 500 bucks if I did tin. But because this is my front driveway, I didn't want to see the shingles turning into tin. I really wanted it to be seamless. So you can do this thing for probably 500-600 bucks. It's again a 10 by it's like a 10 by 12 dimension. So anyways, if you've gained any value, any insight, if there's any tips you can give to anybody, do a few things. 1 is like the video. 2 is subscribe to the video. I'm going to make more content like this, really DIY stuff. And then 3 is leave a comment, especially if it's something I did wrong or that I could have done differently. Put it down in there so somebody else seeing this may learn before they make some of the mistakes that I did. So anyways, I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.